Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Before we start tonight's meeting, I wanted to welcome everyone and also review the guidelines for addressing City Council and encourage you to sign up over here if you do intend to speak to Council during citizens' remarks and comments. Public comments are always welcome, and I invite you to sign up if you wish to speak tonight. I will recognize those signed up during the citizens' remarks section of the Council's agenda. Citizens who wish to speak to council but neglect to sign up in advance may be permitted to address the city council during citizens' remarks and comments agenda item, but only at the discretion of the mayor. When speaking to the city council, I ask that these guidelines be followed. Once recognized to speak, please come forward, stand at the podium, and for the record, state your name and if you're a resident of Lexington, Virginia. If you want to be contacted after this meeting, please provide your contact information to the clerk. Please make your comments to the city council as a whole and do not engage the audience. We ask that you be brief, state your position, and provide facts. Please provide written statements and/or supporting materials to the clerk for distribution to the council and the city manager. Debate is prohibited. This is a time for you to share your thoughts and ideas with your city council. Please speak clearly as we want to hear what you have to say. Each speaker is allotted 3 minutes, and individuals may not yield their allotted time to another person. If you represent a group, 5 minutes is allotted, and you are invited to identify other members of your group who are in attendance. The council or mayor may allow exceptions to these guidelines at their discretion. I remind us all that the meetings of the city council are formal proceedings and they are recorded. I will also, for those that are here to make presentations, you're not limited to 5 minutes. This is just for the public comments to the council. So we'll give you 6 or so. Just kidding. We're elated for you to be here. And with that, I would like to call the meeting to order. And our first order of business, if you all will please stand and join me for Pledge of Allegiance. Not the Declaration of Independence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all very much. I do not have any proclamations to offer this evening, so you'll be spared that piece, but we do live in a community where there are lots of things to be excited about and celebrate. And tomorrow is one of those. And I hope everybody will take advantage of joining the community at Richardson Park for Juneteenth. But with that said, we'll move straight into presentations, and I'll call on Miss Mary Beth to present the MSA quarterly report. And Rockbridge Regional Tourism, you are on deck. Welcome, Mary Beth.
Thank you. Happy to be here. Good evening, everybody. So I am here to present as a resident of Lexington City, who serves on the Maury Service Authority Board, our quarterly update. The first thing I want to just let you know on all the completion of all the projects or the continuation of multiple projects. The first one being the Route 11 waterline improvement, which you've heard about a few presentations now. The good news is that the loop has returned to service. So that project is phase 1 of that project is finishing up. They are still waiting on certain pieces of that project. The City of Lexington Houston street tank is still waiting for a final fitting to be installed. And there's a couple rerouting of the lines that they're waiting on some connections for those. So those should be delivered sometime this summer, anywhere from June to August is kind of the deadline we've been given. The second project, the alternative water source that you had heard about at the last meeting, we are waiting on the draft report from the engineering's resistivity testing. CHA is performing that for us. They are continuing to work on a plan for the surface water sampling. We're focusing on the quarry and Buffalo Creek at this time. And the last main big project is the raw water pumping station. They are in the final design phase of that project. And they are working now with Dominion Power to incorporate additional power issues into that design, so that we won't be as reliant on the generator as we currently are. So that's the next big project that's coming down the pipeline. All right, the second kind of big issue, we just finished our fiscal year 27 rate development workshop, and then the adoption of those rates. So that you might have seen in the paper. They were adopted, and they did reflect the 8% annual increase that we have been trying to incorporate into our budget to really focus on some of the aging infrastructure projects that we see in the future. Because if you recall, there's a rather large chunk of money that we are projecting needing in the next few years. So we did adopt the 8% annual increase, and that has moved forward. We also just completed we got the report back from our financial audit. That was done by Robinson Farmer Cox and Associates. They reviewed our fiscal year 2025, kind of the entire audit, the financials, and what they found was that there was a very clean bill of health from that audit. No red flags, no issues with management. All the accounting practices were positive. So they did say that we are in good financial shape. They did notice that there is a lot of aging infrastructure as well. And so they looked at the water and wastewater operations, found out that revenue is growing, but it's growing at about the pace that we are predicting, that 8 to 9% increase. I also wanted to bring to your attention some of the positive things that the Moray Service Authority is doing for the community. They really are starting to try to do a lot more public outreach to let people know how important water and sewage is to the community, because a lot of people don't ever really think about it. But we are also they've been partnering with Buena Vista and Glasgow, who had some difficulties, we'll say, within the last few months with some of their operations. And so the MSA has been providing technical support on funding, management, planning, project priority, and really trying to help them in any way that we can. The staff is providing some services to help with maintenance and operation expertise for both the BV and Glasgow. BV also just had an issue with one of their biological reactors, and our executive director, Jordan Coombs, was able to work with other areas that had some extra reactors and work with them to bring those to BV. And so it was really a great community effort with all the partners to make that happen for BV. They are also being recognized within the Water Association community. We've had our operations manager, Josh Four, receive the Operator of the Year award. The membership or the leadership team at MSA also nominated the executive director, Jordan Coombs, for the Person of the Year, the Virginia Rural Water Association Person of the Year, which he was awarded. And that reflects exceptional leadership and professionalism, which so that was well deserved. The water treatment plant received the Gold Award for the 7th year in a row. So that reflects the kind of excellence in their job, the clarification, filtration, backwash, and all this water stuff. So I wanted to bring that to your attention because they're doing really good things for our community and within the rural water community at large. They are also they're helping in other ways. They helped remove some of the a downed tree that was over at Sunnyside Preserve. They had the equipment to go out and help remove that one day. They provided water for the Run for Woods Creek race. And they also have been trying to do as many career fairs as they can. And they went to Central and also Temple Christian this past quarter. I think then that is all I have. So I'll answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Mary Beth. Ms. Ziegler.
I was just going to comment to say thank you for agreeing to serve another term.
You're welcome. Thank you for appointing me.
4 years. So appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Betts.
Do you happen to have a time frame on when the backup water supply research report might be in?
I wish I did. Everything, of course, just seems to take a little longer. I think within our next meeting, we'll have the results of that. I'm planning on, we should have the results of the resistivity testing because it's completed. We just haven't gotten the final report yet. So I'm hoping at the next quarterly meeting, we'll have results for that, if not sooner.
Thank you.
Mr. Smith.
Regarding the raw water pump station, I know it was, it had been permitted for 6 million gallons a day. It's running about 2-ish. And as the upgrade was occurring, there was, I guess, questions what the permit, the new permit ask was going to be
Okay.
for capacity on that raw water pump. And I was curious if you knew what that number was
I
going to
do
be.
not have that
Okay.
number. I'm sorry. Yeah. But I can get it for you.
As we grow as a region, you know, how much water are we going to need?
And that I know is the issue because there
Yeah.
has been more draw with additional, development.
Okay.
So the permitting for the new or the new permit guidelines.
Right.
I will find that out.
Great, thank you.
Maybe about that, a couple of questions, more just affirmations, I think. Number one, the line that blew at Washington Street in front of Alvin Dennis, that was a result of work happening on the Houston Street tank. And if I heard you correctly, the Houston Street tank is waiting for some additional.
There is
Oh.
one last fitting that is needed. It's a 12-inch fitting to go into that.
Okay.
So that one has now been installed. So since it has been installed now, there's additional fittings we're waiting. They had to reroute the line to make an angle at one part on Route 11.
Uh-huh.
And that's the piece that we're still waiting for.
Gotcha. Thank you. And can you review the backup water supply? Did I hear you say Buffalo Creek,
Buffalo Creek and the quarry
Barter's
are
Quarry?
for the surface water sampling. So
Okay.
that's, they're currently doing the surface water sampling at those two places.
To see if they would be satisfactory.
Correct.
Is any discussion with connectivity with Buena Vista and the well that they have, is that even
Not that
not being
I
discussed? I mean,
have not been.
clearly a long way to pipe it and very expensive to lay the pipe, but I've since I think 2006, when Buena Vista redid a bond issue to keep things operating in their water system, I was advocating then that somehow it should make sense. They've got a lot of water. We all have water needs, and collaborating. So it could help for development along Route 60 between here and Buena Vista.
True.
But
And I think they are in Band-Aid mode right now with their reactor.
Yes.
So I think that's the priority over there right now.
absolutely. I think historically you all have worked with Davenport and
Correct.
with the 8%, if I heard you correctly, and the auditors affirmed that basically the extra 8% increase in fees, all that's getting banked at this point.
So it is, is earmarked, but they were looking, given the final number of, I think it was 65 million and that is that's kind of the old number now. That is not including some of the new DEQ mandates that might be coming down. So yes, they said that we are in good financial shape with that 8%, and it is going towards projects. It just hasn't been earmarked.
It's not hitting operations and keeping us going. It's
No,
being
it's
set
for-
aside for the future. Okay, terrific. And I will, CEO, treasurer, who's operating in that capacity for MSA
Treasurer,
or bookkeeper? I mean, who's,
Lisa Williams is our administrator.
Okay.
And so she's been doing the kind of operations, and administrative, administrative resource reports.
okay, very good. And I'll echo what Councilman Ziegler said. Thank you for your service and commitment to the community. And we all, our factories, people factories, as well as manufacturing factories, all rely on good quality water. and treatment of water. So the work that you and your team of the MSA do is very, very important and critical to our success. So thank you. And I hope that your pool gets in good shape very soon.
Hopefully that will rain a lot, so.
Yes.
Thank you all.
Thanks for being with us. Next item on the agenda is a presentation from Rockbridge Regional Tourism. Cheryl, come on down as you approach. Rockbridge Recovery is on deck.
Okay, I want to first thank City Council for being such a great supporter of regional tourism. And then, of course, Mayor Friedman for always coming out. You were just at our Buena Vista Visitor Center grand opening on Monday, which I really appreciate that. Councilman Smith, Rockbridge Outdoors, festival, you really helped us out on Saturday all day long, and I appreciate that. And of course, Councilman Betts for being on our tourism board. But I appreciate everybody's support of regional tourism because it just makes sense for our area. We're all too small to try to operate on our own. But what I'm here today to do, and I'm sorry I have bronchitis, so I'm going to let my colleague do most of the speaking. I'm here to introduce Jennifer Eddy. I think most of you have either been in a focus group with her, or you've had a telephone call with her, or you've spoken to her personally about our strategic plan. And we did have a public presentation of this, but not everyone was able to attend, and I totally get that. But I would like for her to give you a little insight into what we're going to be doing for the next 5 years. So I'd like to introduce Jennifer Eddy.
Hello, Council. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today. As Cheryl said, I'm Jennifer Eddy with Eddy Alexander. We're a marketing and growth strategy consulting firm that works with communities all across the country on a number of initiatives, and we have a practice dedicated to tourism. So it's been a real honor to work with you all. This community has some personal ties to my heart. My parents live here in Lexington and have decided to make it where they retire. So it had some special bonds as we started to look at all the data. It always had that personal touch to us as well. So we're really honored to be here tonight. And as Cheryl said, I'm going to talk through some things that she would normally talk through, but we're going to try and save her voice. And then I'll flip into consultant mode and talk to those things as well. Okay, so as you all know, tourism is an indisputable economic driver in this community. What you may not know is that we generated $224 million in visitor spending in Rockbridge County, inclusive of City of Lexington and BV. This is 2024 numbers are the most recent numbers we have, so they get released around Labor Day each year. So this coming Labor Day at the end of the summer, we'll see the 2025 numbers, and then 2026 will lag a year behind that. Those come from Virginia Tourism Corporation, so they are distributed to every community across the state. And we can break those numbers down for you further if it's of interest. But that big figure then supports very tangibly 1,907 local jobs. So people who would not have a job if tourism was not a major driver here in the community. So I think sometimes people forget that direct economic impact is directly tied to the livelihoods of families that call this place home. So it's good to make those connections. And we often talk about tourism in terms of growth numbers and wanting more people to stay longer. That's all true, but I never want to lose sight of the fact that the reason we want that is because when visitors visit, they leave money behind, and that money stays in the economy and circulates in a way that very few other industries offer. So, you bring a business to the community, they invest a first time, and then that money circulates, right? Or someone lives here and they make money in the community and it circulates. But when a visitor comes, they come and they leave it behind, and then it circulates for generations afterwards. So we love visitors' money because it helps pay for services, it helps reduce tax burden, it helps increase quality of life and beautification efforts that benefit your local community. And so as we think about visitation, we don't want to think about just what makes visitors happy. We want to think about how can we leverage what makes visitors happy to make your citizens happy. And when you get that cycle running in a really effective way, then you start to have a program that everyone deems successful. So as we looked at the opportunity for strategic planning, that was really kind of the heart and soul of how we approached things. So some facts and figures that may or may not be familiar to you. This area has 16 bed and breakfasts, 9 campgrounds, 1,687 hotel rooms and growing, 86 restaurants, 50 independent retailers, over 1,000 Airbnbs, 4 craft breweries, 5 wineries, and 1 cidery. So I don't know if that's new numbers to you, but it was impressive to me when I first looked at it. I think of this area as more rural and it's an indisputable economic driver, right? I think when you see those numbers, it starts to crystallize. All right, so we had a number of goals with this particular project. I should say that Cheryl and her team at the Visitors Bureau had a number of goals. Obviously, we wanted to increase visitor spending. So if someone stays a little longer, spends a little more, it has more of an economic impact, not just on tax revenue, but on the dollars that continue to circulate in the community. So when someone chooses a higher end local restaurant over a fast food restaurant or a nicer hotel or more activities, they decide to stay an extra half a day, that has real economic impact. And when you expand that over scale, someone brings in a destination wedding and they bring in 50 of their closest relatives and a few friends as well, those numbers start to multiply very, very fast and in very effective ways. We also want to do a better job of distributing visitors around the county. And that doesn't just mean people who are coming to Lexington, moving them to BV or Natural Bridge or Fairfield, but it also means the people who are stopping in those areas, getting them to come into Lexington and spend the night and stay a little longer and do a little more while they're here too. And so what we saw in the data when we looked at traffic trends of visitors is that folks came for 1 or 2 things and then they left, right? Someone comes for Natural Bridge, spends some time at Natural Bridge or at some of the activities down in that area, but never makes it to Lexington or never makes it to Fairfield. Someone comes to Fairfield, maybe they want to see the lavender farms, but they never make it into Lexington, or they come into Lexington, they never make it over to BV. So huge opportunity there for us both to increase length of stay, but also to increase repeat visitation and loyalty from the visitors who travel as well. We wanted to clarify the roles and responsibilities of different organizations. You guys are so blessed to have so many organizations that are doing so much in your community. It really is impressive for when you look at the population size and you look at the number of assets and attractions, and then the amount of volunteerism you have in this community. It's pretty epic. And we study this for a living. We study it all over the country at all different size communities. It really is pretty spectacular. But what we saw was a lot of overlapping goals, right? You have one group that's doing this festival and another group that's doing this festival, and then everybody's advertising, but you're using digital advertising and you're competing against each other in an auction model. So what we want to do is work smarter, not harder. All of that stuff is good, but we want more communication, more collaboration, and more alignment in the ways that we're doing it. So we think the best laid plans start with you. So we think that we can maybe hopefully set an example for how we do that a little bit better in the future. We also want to balance regional storytelling to optimize program performance. I think part of getting people to move around or to experience more while they're here is to really understand why they should stay an extra day or why they're missing out if they don't make it to one of these hubs in the region. I don't think that kind of storytelling has been done. We have a number of legacy stories about this city in particular that go back more than 100 years, more than 200 years in many cases. And those stories are spectacular. We want to keep them. We want to cherish them. They're assets, but they're not the only stories, right? We've been around for a very long time. We have a lot of stories. So there's always more to mine, more to tell. And that exposure is good for the community. It's good for the economy. So those are some of the goals and why we wanted to do some planning and get all of our ducks in a row, as they say. So now I'm putting on my consultant hat like I promised I would. Okay, so the reason we're doing strategic planning now is the market is changing. So not only do you all have a change locally, you have some new leadership in an organization that's been around serving this community for a very long time, but you have new audience expectations. If you all travel, and I'm sure you do, you may recall a time where you planned your vacation a year ahead of time, or maybe 6 months ahead of time, and you looked forward to that all year long. Well, we know that visitors are traveling more often spur of the moment. They may be driving down 81 and pulling out their phone to say, what is there to do as I'm passing by, right? Travel has changed. They also now expect that if they start scrolling as they're passing by, that they're going to get accurate information about what there is to eat. They're going to see reviews. They're going to say if something doesn't show up on Google, it doesn't exist, right? And they have a sense that everything is going to be accurate and up to date. That's hard for small towns to compete in. That requires a level of technological sophistication that many independent small businesses don't have, and really can't reasonably be expected to maintain. And so there's a role that tourism bureaus can play in helping those businesses be seen, be present in a digital sphere that is becoming increasingly important and also increasingly complex. So we think there's an opportunity there. There's also some operational efficiencies. We have more data than we've ever had before, and we as an industry have more data than ever before, but it's not useful if we don't use it. So we need to know that the staff in place understands what they have access to, what it means, and how they can use it to make better decisions, and really to do things like digital advertising more effectively, so that when we are bidding in an auction model, we're not at a disadvantage because we're operating kind of broadly when we could be more specific. And then obviously new leadership invites new perspective, tighter economies. Everybody's feeling increased prices. That's the same for visitors. That is impacting how far people will travel and frankly, where we should advertise. So we want to be smarter about placing our ads in places where people are more likely to respond to them given today's dynamics. And that's going to change month to month, year to year. And so we want to stay on top of that. And then competition is increasing. If you all remember, of course, we all remember COVID, but if you remember the ARPA dollars that flowed after COVID, many of those dollars here in Virginia and in many places across the country were set aside for communities to do tourism specifically. And that affected many small communities and gave them an opportunity to try something for the first time. That money was pretty successful. And so after that money dried up, many communities that were never advertising in tourism before continued to invest in tourism because they saw the return on investment. That's great for them, but it means there's more competition in the market and there's still the same number of travelers that are traveling. So we have more people to compete against. We need to do that more effectively in all the ways that we can so that we can maintain the leadership position that has supported this economy for so long. Okay, so the project itself was a two-part initiative. It was a 5-year strategic plan and then a 3-year marketing plan that supported the implementation of the adjustments that we were recommending. And then a final presentation to the community. That has since very pleasantly turned into many presentations. We've gotten lots of enthusiasm. We did the first one probably 2 months ago over at the Virginia Horse Center. So thank you to them for allowing us to do that. And then we've been invited back several times to other organizations to share the same information. And we're really pleased to be able to share it with you all tonight. But I think that speaks to how excited folks are and how much momentum is building around these initiatives. So we're thankful for that. So there are 3 main deliverables: the tourism strategic plan itself, which is a book that you all are welcome to get a copy of, and we would love to hear your thoughts on. The 3-year tourism marketing plan, which is also a bit of a book, a little bit smaller, that puts that into action in very specific ways. And then these community updates like the one you're hearing here today. So all of this direction is great, but it means nothing if your community isn't bought in. So when we started this project, we started it with a 360-degree discovery effort that included a historical deep dive into what drove your tourism over the last 15, 20 years. We looked at data about the last 2 years and what is driving your visitation right now, where people are coming from, how long they're staying, how much they're spending. And we're able to track that a number of different ways. We have a variety of tools and resources at our disposal. We also talked to everyone in your community. So we invited everyone to take a survey. We advertised that survey period. We kept it open for about a month. We had over 1,000 respondents to that survey. We also held a series of focus groups for residents, for hoteliers, for restaurant owners, for attraction owners, for people who were civically involved. We looked at every which way we could get in front of folks, inviting folks to participate. And we asked them, what were they excited about related to visitation? What were they nervous about? What does success look like? We wanted to make sure that the North Star wasn't one that we came in from another community and set for you, but one that was defined by this community itself. We're really pleased with the alignment of what we heard across all the communities in this area. And that gave us really solid footing to make some decisions on. We then went out and did a survey of visitors who had been to the community in the last 2 years. We looked at ones that were successfully came, that came more than once. We looked at how long they stayed. We also looked at people we had advertised to in their region that have not come. And we looked at where they went instead and how much they spent and how much they did when they were in those communities, to see if we were missing opportunities there. And then what our reputation was, and whether we were hitting the mark in the stories we wanted to tell and the stories that they wanted to hear when they were thinking about where to spend their time and money and resources. So all of that led to a pretty clear direction of where we needed to go as an organization, and that's what informed that strategic plan. So there's a couple kind of key points that I want to pull out of that. The region is historically strong. I feel very silly saying that too. You all here on council, you know this area is strong. And certainly the city of Lexington has been leading this for a very long time. But you've also been narrowly focused in the kind of stories that you have told. You have tremendous Civil War history in this area. You have tremendous outdoor recreation assets, and you've really leaned in hard on those. Nothing wrong with that. You should continue to do that. But there is lots and lots of opportunity here. There are so many assets and attractions that many of our communities all over the country would die to have just one or two of them. Natural Bridge State Park, for instance, right? One of the universities that you have, your region has 3. It's incredible. So I think there's lots of unscratched surface that we can start digging into to tell new, better, and more stories more frequently, get in front of folks with earned media opportunities that will allow us to be more efficient in the paid media and more prolific in the earned media that we go after. The city of Lexington itself carries significant brand equity. Again, I feel a little silly saying this to you all. You all certainly know that the reputation of this community way outweighs the size and the population of your community, but you have history and you have cultural relevance and you have all kinds of events that get held here. And that is so powerful in the world that we trade in. You have several different areas that are really up and coming as well. So if you look across the county of Rockbridge, you have BV, you have Goshen, you have Fairfield, and you have Natural Bridge, and they're all providing pretty significant growth opportunities right now. They're all kind of developing little hubs of reputation where they are becoming destinations in and of themselves. That's great. None of them in their own right, just like Lexington, are financially sustainable to have their own program that is competitive in this increasingly competitive DMO market. But together, you guys can be a really powerful force. And so we're pretty excited about the direction that you have and the momentum that you have with the years of experience you have behind your belt and the infrastructure that's in place. The majority of the travelers to the region come from within 200 miles, and this is even before sort of the economic squeeze that people are starting to feel right now. That 200-mile radius was pretty interesting to me. I expected you were getting more snowbirds kind of coming through and stopping halfway between the northern areas of the country and the southern areas of the country, but you really are drawing regionally and you're drawing frequent visitors who like to come back multiple times a year. That's a specific type of traveler. They are looking for different kinds of things when they go on vacation. So we need to be telling that story as much as we're telling broader stories about come spend a week here, right? Or come spend your summer here, your winter here. Your origin markets, no surprise here, include Northern Virginia, Richmond, Tidewater, and North Carolina's Piedmont region. So if you think about the 200-mile radius and where your highways connect you, pretty direct routes. So your highway infrastructure is really important to what you're doing. It's also a huge opportunity in terms of how we target our advertising as well. Visitor profiles are varied, but they skew towards leisure traveler with some small groups, typically seeking relaxation, outdoor recreation, and cultural exploration. That may seem obvious, but in some communities, that profile looks really different. It might be conferences and events. It might be sports tourism. It might be other kinds of visitation. So knowing that is really important to us. That's not to say that those other things aren't happening. There are quite a few sporting events that happen here. Certainly, the Virginia Horse Center is providing tremendous value. The universities are providing tremendous value when we look at sports tourism. You also have some hotels and some meeting facilities that can be very valuable, but right now that's not leading the domination of your market. And that shapes what people do and how long they stay as well. And then travelers kind of consistently report, whether we were looking at where they came from or what their economic band was or what drove them here, consistently they said they like coming here because they value the area's authenticity, small town charm, scenic drives, and accessible adventure. We also broke this down to based on where they went. So did they say that if they came to the city of Lexington? Did they say that if they went to Fairfield? Did they say that if they went to Natural Bridge? It was consistent no matter how we sliced that data. That was another indicator to us that the regional approach to tourism was a very good thing because you have a very clear story that's consistent across your geographic bounds. Okay. So ultimately, the strategic plan, this is my spoiler alert slide, guys. You can read the whole plan or you can come here to this slide, but it basically says there are 5 main things that we think you need to do over the next 5 years. It's not like year 1, year 2, year 3. You each have a task. These are all 5-year initiatives. But the first thing is we think there's an opportunity to evolve the brand and broaden the narrative. So I kind of spoke to this with the broader storytelling, but also I think the brand itself, I'm not saying the brand of Lexington or the brand of BV, but I'm saying the brand of your tourism destination needs to be something that's memorable to the visitor, not equally covering every name of every jurisdiction in a community. People don't travel to geographic bounds. Just as when you guys travel, you travel to the beach or to the mountains or to wherever it is that you go. But you're not thinking about, I'm going to go to this block, this boating block, right? So we would need to find a way that we can tell our story where it doesn't feel like towns and cities are all trying to squeeze their name into it. What that looks like needs to be determined. That's something that I think needs to be a collaborative effort that happens over the next year or so, because that really lays the groundwork for the story that telling that's to come. That should be partially input from the community. It should be partially doing some search engine optimization research about what people are searching for and how can we pick something that is going to make people come here cheaper and more often, so that we can be wise with the dollars that we have to spend in the technical environment in which we live. Then we have some opportunities around advanced digital transformation and data intelligence. We have a lot of data that we never had before. So now that we have that, we need to make sure that we're using it and we're using it to make good decisions. This starts with your website. There's some functionality that is now available as cheaper than it has ever been, that will allow you to make sure all of your local businesses can compete on equal footing with organizations that have much bigger marketing budgets and much bigger staffs of people to keep their website hours up to date and their different mobile accessibility considerations running at peak performance. So we'd like to find ways to make those investments kind of once for the whole region so that everybody can tie into the same infrastructure. That gives a leg up to everyone who's in your community competing for economic success. We want everyone to rise with the tide. Then we also want to use that data that we're collecting to make these level decisions, to start making more micro decisions that are also data backed and informed. That will help us be more competitive in a variety of different ways that we look at the economics of the investments we're making in advertising and public relations and sponsorships and things like that. Then we want to expand product and experience development. You have so many assets, but you can never have too many assets as a community when you are promoting tourism. So this is everything from trails to brochures to walking tours to homes, garden tours. I mean, it can be all kinds of different things. And you guys are just flush with opportunity. So we're excited to start to dig into that and to help tell those stories around these 5 hub locations that we talked about, because that allows people to say, well, I went to Lexington last time, maybe I'm going to go to BV next time, or I went to Fairfield last time, but now I'm going to go to Natural Bridge. And it creates more repeat visitation. And it allows those folks to, when they're talking about the region, to feel more loyalty, to feel more informed, and to be more likely to be advocates for the region, to send other people here that we didn't have to pay to advertise to get here, right? So we want to build up that momentum of referrals as well. Then we want to strengthen industry alignment and leadership. So clarifying the roles and responsibilities of the different organizations, being a collaborator that brings groups together. And Cheryl and her team have already started doing this, getting the hoteliers to come together and talk about the shared challenges that they're working on, the restaurant owners to do the same thing, and to look at opportunities where they may not be able to invest individually in something like, say, a shuttle into downtown, but maybe collectively they can. If they're not having those conversations, they're not thinking about it that way. And we're in a unique position to be able to be a unifier and to help start some of those conversations around, hey, here's what's happening nationally. Can we take any of these best practices and apply them here locally? And I know Cheryl and her team have also started some presentations where they're bringing in different experts to talk about things like what makes your business PR ready, and how can you take advantage of the opportunity that we're bringing journalists to town to get more media coverage for your business, things like that. So just generally raising the tide for everybody who's involved. And then finally, sustainable destination management. This is thinking about how do we make sure that the destination program we're building today is here in the future. And you can think about this a lot of different ways. In this community in particular, the view shed is incredibly important. And I know it's something that's important to all of you as well. So that's one area that we need to be thinking about. Things like your water sources, the same things that your residents care about also affect your visitors. Do you have biking trails? Can people get from point A to point B after 6 p.m.? Or Is it too dark or there's no signage, right? Those kinds of challenges that are a little bit more nuanced, maybe a little more nerdy, not as fun to think about when you're thinking about tourism, but really critically important to the infrastructure that you're building if you're going to invest in this as a core part of your economy, as you have for generations. So current state, the region has strong demand, compelling assets, but visitors are not fully engaging when they come across everything you have to offer. Would be hard to because you really do have a lot, but you have limited awareness and industry coordination is limiting economic impact. So the things that you are doing are kind of drops in the bucket and they're spread a little bit too thin. So we want to start to consolidate those and make a bigger splash when we're investing. And then there's an opportunity to better connect and elevate what already exists. And then future opportunities, more informed decisions using real visitor data. Things are changing all the time. Trends are evolving all the time. If we can ride those waves, we get more, even if we're spending the same amount of money. So that's a position we want to be in. And then a more unified and consistent regional story gives us a leg up. More people realize that we're all in the same area and they can do more things while they're here. A greater focus on experiences that encourage longer stays. That's just about economics. Clearer measurement of results and return on investment so that you all and your counterparts in other communities know what you're getting when you're spending on tourism and that you can compare that against benchmarks that are available nationally so that you know that you're performing well when you're performing well. And if you're not, you know what needs to be tweaked. And then more intentional outreach to high value audiences. You all have some very beautiful assets in this community, and it's a real blessing. That allows you to reach a wide spectrum of socioeconomic groups, a wide spectrum of different types of travelers. So making sure that we're really taking advantage of that so that you get the economic benefit from partnering with all those different potential audiences is really valuable. So the marketing plan is a guidebook to implement those big picture ideas. We want to strengthen the regional identity, increase measurable economic impact, help align our partners where that makes sense, elevate our storytelling, and protect what makes this community special. So there's a couple of priorities here. We want to modernize the brand and digital ecosystem, extend length of stay with our storytelling, but also with bundled itineraries. So we're getting our businesses working together to say, hey, if you come here and you do these 3 things, then we're going to help make that easier for you. Well, now we've naturally incentivized them to stay a little bit longer. So there's ways we can kind of use these things together in combination to get some X factor multipliers on things. We want to strengthen partner alignment and increase community engagement, improve our campaign ROI, and increase transparency, accountability, and impact awareness. So that's about making sure that people who are investing in this stuff know that it's working when it's working and can hold us accountable if it's not. So we've talked about stakeholder accountability and coordination in those meetings. One of the things we've done is start to implement some consistent dashboards for performance tracking. So we're measuring the same things over time. We've put them in categories that allow us to measure it against benchmarks from the industry that helps us make sure that we're doing the right things in the right way and to identify issues or challenges a little bit faster. Holding networking events, special interest meetings, training opportunities, and really just talking to our partners more, getting more involved in the things they're trying to do and helping steer things in ways that are going to be valuable for a lot of different organizations at once. Shifting the narrative, doing this brand work is very important to this plan. It's really the first thing that needs to be done out of the gate. And then as part of that, there's already a couple of initiatives underway. Some of you attended the new visitor center opening, I think on Monday of this week in VV at the Via Center. That is a beautiful facility. It's a great opportunity to anchor some of your outdoor recreation storytelling in the region. It's also a great opportunity to point that you're so close to all 5 of these hubs, and let's make sure we get you to all of them and really sort of start to get in people's heads about, hey, while you're here, let's plan for how much there is to see and do. So even if you can't do it all on this trip, we can get you back for multiple trips in the future. We've done a creative audit of the different stories you've been telling, the different advertisements you've been placing, and looked for some opportunities to optimize some of that. We've talked about the 5 hubs. We want to refresh the visual identity with category nesting. So we want to have materials that are, hey, you're coming in for a wedding. Here's all the things you need to know. Hey, you're really interested in craft brewing and wineries. Here are the things you need to know. You're really interested in history. Here are the things you need to know so that we can grab people and get them really deeply invested faster than flipping through a whole brochure that has everything there is to do in the region. And then historic and cultural research and planning. You have a number of assets and attractions and partners and universities in your community that are all looking at ways to tell bigger, broader, better stories, more accurate stories right now. And we want to be a part of that. We don't want that all to be happening in silos. We want to be leveraging it and helping each other do it better, faster, and cheaper. So that is the goal. When we look at the branding process, no matter who does your branding, we want you to strike a balance of 50-50, right? We want you to be 50% authentic to who you are. It needs to ring true across your whole region. You also need to be 50% aspirational. So it needs to push you out of your comfort zone a little bit so that you are going somewhere. If you just buy a brand that is exactly makes you feel comfortable, that's a good reflection of where we are today, then you've just bought a really expensive mirror. And while I love a good mirror and somebody who's looking good in it, that's not a great investment for a community, right? You want to use that brand to help you reach new audiences, help you resonate in new ways, and create cause for pause so that people who know you or thought they know you are taking a fresh look at where you are today and what you have to offer them right now. So that means a lot of different things. Authenticity can make sure that the brand is achievable, historically accurate, and rooted in your community's truth. Again, defined by the people who live here, not by the people who want to turn it into something because they want to visit some certain thing they have in their head, right? And then aspirational is it needs to be differentiated. If you sound just like everybody else in your region, you're not actually doing anything with your marketing. So that's important from a business standpoint. It needs to be noteworthy. People need to remember it, and it needs to be aligned with local goals and visitor goals. So that's why we talked to both stakeholder groups as a part of this process. Ultimately, you have an integrated marketing program right now, but I think there's an opportunity to level up all of that by using the data that you now have access to in more aggressive ways. You also have great partnerships with organizations like Virginia Tourism Corporation, some tourism groups that work through the Shenandoah Valley, Blue Ridge Parkway affiliated organizations. So there's a number of partners within the community and beyond the community that we can align ourselves with to be able to do more faster, better, more grant access, things like that. Right now, your PR work is very, very good. You have a great partner who has been working with you for a long time. They're doing lots of great placements, big stories, but there's opportunities to do more. Sorry, I'm catching it. Sorry, there's opportunities to do more when it comes to influencer marketing, kind of micro tourism and niche categories, and to do some smaller publications up and down the Shenandoah Valley, as well as into the markets that we know are feeding us in Northern Virginia, Hampton Roads, Virginia, Richmond, that sort of thing. So we know where people are coming from. We don't just need to be in Southern Living. We also need to be in the regional magazine in I don't know, Winston-Salem, right? So some of those places as well. So we're really excited to be able to tell some of those same stories in different markets and start spreading those stories around so that they ring more resonant, more true, more frequent, because that helps actually convert somebody from I've heard of that place to I want to visit that place or I want to go back. It's been a while. Paid media promotions, I think there's huge opportunity here to leverage your data to be a little bit more efficient in how you use this. One of the great things about digital advertising is it sort of serves as a research arm in the way we traditionally thought about you do your research first and then you place your advertising. Right now, we can get real-time data that helps us make sure the next campaign is even stronger, and we can even adjust in real time. So there's some more digital targeting we can do, some more niche verticals that we can go after and more strategic remarketing and repeat visitor attraction work that can be done there to get people to convert more frequently. We can even do things like cloning audiences. So we know these people have come to town before. Well, who are the people that are like them? Who do they hang out with? Let's jump to their devices and show them our ads and try and get more of the folks that share a similar profile into the community. So some really neat things that can be done there. Ultimately, we want to expand that content portfolio. We can do that with regular social media posts, with monthly newsletters, which I know Cheryl has just recently gotten started, and I believe all of you are on. So if you're not getting that, please make sure you can talk to her and make sure that we fix whatever might be wrong so that you are getting that. Media engagement, which we talked about, but also these geographic hubs and themed itineraries, things like outdoor adventure, creative culture, history and architecture, agritourism, food, beverage, and retail. You have unique stories to tell about all of those things, and I'm sure you all know people in your life that will travel for any one of those categories and spend their whole trip doing just one of them. So lots of opportunity to do deeper work there. And then operational modernization. We want you to transition to an official agency of record. Right now, you have several different partners that are working with you, all doing good work, but they're not working with each other. They're all kind of interfacing with the organization. And we think that you will get more bang for your buck if you kind of centralize those operations in one strategic partner who can help you make sure that they're being held accountable for the integration points between PR and advertising and sponsorships and things like that. So I think that's one recommendation that is pretty actionable and pretty easy to implement. We also want you to rebalance your spending to increase accountability, make sure that the reporting that they're putting out is the same format every time so that everybody can measure it, and look at the categories of reporting so that you are able to compare it to industry benchmarking. That, from what we could tell, hadn't been done in a long time, and is a pretty easy thing for us to implement. Then we think there's an opportunity to consolidate your digital systems. You have several good partners that are doing good work, but by spreading out what you're doing, you're diluting the search engine optimization impact of what you're doing. And we want to be working in the opposite way. And then to do this all particularly well, you really need a hub. So we want you to upgrade the web platform that you're using to something that has a true CRM that can allow a customer relationship management tool that can allow your partners to input their information onto that same website to create one super powerful website for what there is to see and do in the region, rather than every business individually trying to compete on their own to tell a story about what they have to offer a visitor. And then the last thing is that we have reworked your budget so that the categories align similarly to what we were talking about with the performance metrics to kind of industry standards, so that you can measure what percentages are you spending versus what are other communities your size spending, what kind of ROI are you getting versus how they are. That's just going to help you work smarter, not harder, and that's always a good idea. So I talked really fast and threw a whole lot at you, but I'm happy to take any questions here tonight or to follow up with any of you individually if that's helpful as well. Like I said, it's really been an honor to do this project over the last year and to get to talk to so many members of your community. And I really hope that this plan gets you going in good direction.
Thank you, Jennifer. Go ahead, Ms. Alexander.
Yes, you talked about the 5 pillars, and you talked about being an agency of record. You talked about being a hub. We have a problem, but it's a good problem to have. And that is organizations all over the region are planning events. Then you have that particular event, and then somebody else has the same sort of event, and you're dividing the community because they want to go to both, and they have to pick one. And if they had a way of knowing that that is the agency that I need to call to make sure that I'm not having a conflict, you could be that agency to do that.
Yeah, and I do think it should be us as the tourism office, and so we've been meeting with the Virginia Horse Center and the 2 colleges just to make sure that things are happening at the same time. But then there's a lot of community things that are happening at the
Yeah,
same time.
I think
you
that's
know?
more where the problem is.
I think that is a big problem. Like, we had a VA 250 meeting last night, and there are like 4 things going on 4th of July, all at the same time. Natural Bridge State Park is doing something at the same time that the city of Buena Vista is doing, that the Rockbridge Historical Society is doing. So I think there's, and I think that's what Jennifer, sorry, I call you Jen because you're my friend, but I think that's what she's really talking about is our organizations and collaborating more, like the Chamber of Commerce and Main Street and tourism, really working together and not against each other. And so that's that. I mean, she didn't call out any of the organizations, but I will. But just us all working together instead of in our own silos. So, and I think that's happening. I think there's been some big change. So that's the direction we're.
I think having one agency be the collector of that information and having it available to everybody just at a click of your hand to access that when you're making plans.
Spencer Suter just emailed me yesterday about a company that wanted to do a calendar for all of our local governments, and I think the city of Lexington already uses Granicus for your website. Well, Granik has just bought Simple View, which is a DMO known all around website. And so I think there can be some collaboration in those types of things where maybe City of Lexington, City of Buena Vista, Rockbridge County can all put your events into the same platform.
And that occurred in 2021. Tourism took the lead on that and spent ARPA money with a calendar for that exact reason in 2021. You rolled out about $250,000 of ARPA funding in 3 initiatives, and that calendar was exactly what you just described is what we were sold it to be in 2021. So maybe it's worth seeing if we ever did that calendar, but we also were spending money on AirDNA. We
Okay.
were going to get really savvy on
No, I wasn't
Airbnbs,
then,
but
yeah.
you know, but this would be great because that all
Yeah.
came out of the last strategic plan
Yeah.
that
Oh, it
happened.
did.
Yes, and then
Okay.
we provided the funding. Yeah.
I can only speak to the things that I saw during the review, but I know the AirDNA data was part of what we looked at as part of the historical records. So that has been established. There is a event calendar, but that event calendar today is fed by people letting us know what's happening. And with any kind of initiative or change management effort, you've got a combination of people, process, and technology, right? So you can buy the technology, but if the people in the process aren't aligned, it's not a great time to do that. And likewise on the other side, if you have all the people running in the same direction, but you don't have the tools to push that out to the folks you want to attract.
So
that's
is
a
the
challenge
thought
too.
that local community events, that we've got so much energy for local community events that is negatively impacting attracting people from within
no.
200 miles?
No.
I'm confused on tourism. Bring people here, have them leave their money here. That seems like the whole goal.
Mhm.
And yet, not to throw
Yeah.
stones at local organizations and
No,
we
no.
don't know what's going on. That seems like a whole separate issue, that it's an embarrassment of riches when we have multiple community events.
No, and if you bring enough
doesn't
visitors
detract-
in,
Right.
it doesn't matter.
It doesn't
Um,
detract from wanting people from 200 miles away and separate them from their dollars. I mean,
Yeah.
my goal is always to understand, separate the weekends that are parents' weekend, reunion weekends, drop-off weekend, graduation weekends, exclude all of that spending, all of those hotel rooms, all of those people, and determine who is here, who are our tourists on the other 35 weekends a year when there's not 90% occupancy by people that have to be here.
Do we use radio advertising at all? Do we do like tourism? Do we do?
we
WNRN is one of our is one of the radio advertising that we do.
Mhm.
I'm sorry.
No,
It's okay.
it's okay. It's okay.
One of the things that was brought up was trying to get people that are passing through the area to stay in our area rather than a neighboring locality. Could some of the data that's collected be used to kind of look at maybe times to place the radio ads to try to,
Yeah, I think
reach
it's
some-
radio. I think it's also your digital ads. I think there's a number of different things there. These points are kind of connected. So I want to talk to both at the same time, if that's okay. So to the point of the number of events being riches, they're absolutely riches. So every destination marketing organization is in the business of promoting the product, that is the events, that is the attraction, that is the stories that you have to tell that make people want to visit and make them want to enjoy themselves while they're here. So more is good. But if each individual group isn't talking to each other, then what could have been spread out onto the weekends where it could have the best economic impact and spread away from the times where it's going to be limited by the force of the inventory of rooms you have available, then you're missing that opportunity. And one of the things that we have already seen start happening just since the survey went out last summer is that we've started getting groups talking to each other and coordinating, well, we're going to do this in the spring and you do this in the fall, and we'll help each other. And that is a major shift that we've seen in just about 9 months' time. So I'm really excited about that and hopeful that that will be more. Where it gets more technical is if each of those groups are doing advertising not in the traditional way of I'm going to buy radio ads, then you're just limited by capacity, right? But if you start doing things like digital advertising where it's an auction model and we're going after the same audience, we're bidding against each other. And so that actually is costing us more on both sides to get the same person into town. So what we want to do is create like a ripple effect where we're getting people to the region and then each community is getting people to the events and activities and businesses that are going to make them have a great time while they're here, so that everybody's not bidding against each other for the same end goal. And that's starting to happen already just with the conversations before we've implemented the technology and the process. And so those are the two layers that we want to layer on to really get it running as a well-oiled machine. Does that make sense? And to your question, yes, all of that data can now inform when do we run the ads, how often, to what audiences, and how much are we willing to spend for them?
Sure.
Because we can get really granular. Well, listen, we don't care that you reach 2 million people. We want this zip code.
Right.
So now we're going to negotiate your total cost for that zip code.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Dollars, how much are dollars out bringing back in?
Exactly. Yeah. So we can just work smarter, and that's what we want to do.
10 years ago, we were focused on signage and wayfinding to help people figure out how to get around. Everybody has a cell phone, and it's a completely different process at this point.
Yeah. Now your wayfinding is just as important from a welcoming standpoint as it is for actual direction. Yeah.
Well, and if it's like any of the people that I know, they don't look for a sign; they're listening to GPS. So the sign is meaningless.
Yeah, and my children, when they travel, I mean, they're not listening to the radio, they're streaming, right? And they're each streaming a different device. And so thinking about how media is being consumed by who and who do we want to come in because it's going to provide the best outcome for our citizens is really how we should be thinking about all of these decisions. But there's no shortage of channels and there's no shortage of opportunity and there's no shortage of cost. So we need to, think about the world of limited resources and how can we be most efficient to drive people to the things that are going to represent the community the best, to have the best economic input.
And that's the best reason for us to work together, because we can't do it as City of Lexington or City of Buena Vista or Rockbridge County, but we do have a little bit of power of working together. So thank you. Any other questions?
Well, just a comment. I'm really impressed with the work that you all have done and the product. I mean, it's very, very strong, and I think provides an incredible amount of and clear direction. And maybe that goes back to what you have been saying, that even by doing the work, you've started to bring together different hubs of activity, such as the hotel community and others, and say, here's how we can talk, because it's not just digital, it is the softer space of people communicating with each other and then saying,
Absolutely.
I mean, I think David's point is great, that what do we do with the 35 off weekends?
Exactly.
You
I
know,
mean, you can book it.
And that's not just a technical solution of being able to look on the website, but it's more knowing what the community's doing. Can you give me and I love the 5 pillars. The whole plan is great. Thank you for presenting it and all the good work. One question, just out of curiosity. So when you talk about expanding the storytelling, what would be an example of that? Just curious.
Ultimately, it'll be up to Cheryl and her organization and whatever partners they choose to work with in the future. But I think weddings is a great example, right? There's a whole economy around weddings. There's magazines, there's events, there's all kinds of attractions and business hubs that you can attract to tell a story about weddings, right? Huge opportunity. You already have a tremendous amount of organic growth there, and it's not been an area where you've been focused promoting. So if you just pour a little fuel on that fire, it will grow. So that's an example. Another one might be something even more specific. It could be something like, I'm just throwing something out, but fly fishing, right? You have a very high-end product in the beauty of your community and the types of assets and attractions and the type of visitors that are coming here for things like the Horse Center or the universities. So introducing something that is an outdoor recreation asset, which you're already known for with the Blue Ridge Parkway, but now leaning in on something that brings a certain socioeconomic group in that provides some return. So picking those things very carefully and deciding, another one might be like birding. So we know that people who bird are more likely to be either retired or higher up in their careers in a way that they have more flexibility to travel during the weeks, not just the weekends, which is when our hotels need it. And they tend to be able to spend more and stay longer when they come. So maybe we start promoting the birding adventures. You can have the trails that you have, right? So getting really niche in what we go after and becoming really known for something that has some tentacles that bring value to the community.
That's very
Another
helpful.
one would be like great travel. I'm so sorry.
Save it, Cheryl.
Sound like
Save it.
this.
Mr. Smith, did you have a question or comment?
Yeah, a couple. I got to go to the rollout at the Horse Center. Absolutely amazing information, especially the role that AI and data and tech are playing in the success of tourism as we go down the road. We got lucky, not lucky, we were fortunate to get on the jump for quality of life and pushing that, I think, ahead of some of our peers in that segment. I see it now more all the time from our peers in the region pushing quality of life, and the best part of that about improving quality of life for the people that we want to come here is we're making it better for ourselves. And I'm glad we did get the jump on that. I guess my question is, one of the earlier slides, we had a $224 million economic impact that supports 1,900 employees. I think I asked a similar question at the rollout. How is our growth in tourism compared to our peers over the last like 10 years as the competition is increasing for those dollars to get left behind? Are we
Yeah.
holding our own? Are we?
Yes. So we didn't go back 10 years. We looked at the last, I think we looked at 2 and we looked at 5 as standalone static data points. And then we really dove into the 2 years, like month over month. You are doing about the same as average with the state the last 2 years. And when you look back 5 years, you're looking in the COVID timeframe. And so everything kind of shut down. It's not particularly helpful as a data point. However, you have some communities that are in the same feeder market pool as you that are expanding very, very fast. So this past year, I think the 2 fastest growing destinations in the state were BBR, which is right down the road in 81, down 81 in the Roanoke Valley region, and then Danville, which is also drawing from Danville in Pennsylvania County, which is also drawing from Richmond and Hampton Roads and Roanoke, right? So that same kind of 200-mile radius. So while you are staying competitive, other people are getting more competitive.
Right.
So, thinking about how do you work smarter, how do you invest proportionally to the impact it has on your economy, it should be an ongoing conversation and something that you're continuing to think about and weigh against other priorities.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see how all the stuff that you've thrown at us
Sorry.
is going to
Yeah.
help our success in growth in tourism, because it is so critical for this region.
It's important, but you have a very competitive edge in the asset sets that you have, right? You have so many stories to tell. You have so many businesses that people adore and are willing to travel for, even if they're only coming for one thing. And so where their disadvantage is their counterbalance. And I think that's why you're holding your own. But if you decide that this is an area where you want to double down, I think you have some very clear pathways where you can do that now as well.
And what'll be critical, I think, I know, will be for our partners that are representatives of the tourism board to deal with these, because the infectious enthusiasm that you're bringing with this, grateful for your presentation. I think it's worth noting, Mr. Smith mentioned we got lucky. There was no luck involved. People like Otis Mead started the regional tourism, and despite all its imperfections and things that aren't working, or we haven't gotten the return on investment that we thought of, we have one. And our community has benefited greatly for having that unified group, and for, I would venture to say, for the past 3 decades, has been a leader in regional cooperation. And I look forward to figuring out how you, with the team that you're assembled, your board, yes, these go on your broad shoulders, to figure out how we build upon this brand equity. I've been pounding the table for years that Lexington sells outside of Rockbridge County, but Buena Vista and Rockbridge County have hired economic development folks to advertise and brand, et cetera. So how do we work collaboratively when we're in silos? Good luck. Let us know. We'll put a pin in it. That was a rhetorical question, but I hope you made time to see your parents while you're here.
They're traveling,
But
I will see them all.
you can go raid the refrigerator.
That's
Very
right.
good. Very good. we'll put a pin in it for there, but thank you both for being here. Thank you for the work that you've done on behalf of our community, representing all the people in this community. And we look forward to the future presentations where perhaps we can have a regional dinner, get all the jurisdictions together to talk about it, and plot our path forward to ensure even greater success and efficiencies that you've articulated tonight. So thank you.
You all.
Thank you
Thank you.
for giving us all this time.
And I hope you don't share your malady with Jennifer. Yes, we certainly could have had a work session and go for a couple of hours on topics. There are so many more questions that you open the door for. The concluding piece, Cheryl, I haven't shared with you, but I have with some others. The partner in Geiger Associates is top notch. I pointed out to Debbie on Monday that one of the media pieces that was published reflected the clock tower of Washington and Lee. And that was the main picture and article, but it happened to be, I'm not familiar with the clock tower at Washington and Lee. And it turned out it is, in fact, the clock of the Lexington Presbyterian Church. I harassed, I think it was Holly, and Debbie overheard, Debbie Geiger, and she said, that's, online, we can get that corrected. So on Monday, when I was pounding on the table that what other inaccuracies are there or fact finding that wasn't done for these articles, it's corrected. I looked at it this morning. It's been cleaned up, and it is now the clock tower in downtown Lexington at Lexington Presbyterian Church. But exactly. Getting the facts straight, because don't want somebody showing up looking for the clock tower at Washington and Lee. They'll be disappointed. Excellent. Next on our agenda is the Rockbridge Recovery Update. Thank you for your patience, and congratulations on learning about all things tourism and strategic planning. Lori Turner, come on up. I'm glad you brought your bodyguard. And Josh and Roxanne, thanks for being with us.
So, this slide.
I guess one of the major assets while you're getting fired up there, we are a Mark Klein community. Not everyone can tout that, and enjoying the things that he does in our community and the ghost tours. One of the many things that distinguish us.
All right, Mayor, City Council, Tom, the rest of the staff, I'll try to be as brief as I can. I'm here tonight. Obviously, thank you for having me. I want to be clear about why I'm here. I'm not here to ask for anything. I just came to say thank you, show you what your belief in the work has made possible with Rockbridge Recovery and the Hope House. Everything I shared is just because the community in this council decided that it should. And before I say anything else, thank you for standing with us. So when the Opioid Abatement Authority asked who stood behind Rockbridge Recovery, this council raised its hand. That partnership helped us secure $812,000 for this upcoming year. And that includes $150,000 to purchase a new building so we can reach even more people. So, but please hear me that this was never a line in the budget. When you said yes, you weren't approving a program, you were telling your neighbors, your constituents, the ones at the hardest season of their lives, you matter, you're worth it, you're worth investing in, and you belong here. And that is what your yes was really about. And that means everything. So what you see here now is the Hope House today. Here's what your belief built. In just a few years, the Hope House has grown into a real recovery campus. A Hope House for men, a Hope House for women, and an outreach center to the front door of it all. The outreach side meets people right where they are. The campus side is where the long, hard work of recovery actually happens, and the two feed into each other. This isn't a plan on paper anymore. It's a living, breathing place on a real street with real neighbors. And it exists because this regional partnership between Buena Vista, Lexington, and Rockbridge County decided that it should. Just give you a little view of what we have. I want to show you, slow down here and just let you see it. This is the woman's house, the fitness area, the furnished bedrooms, the small personal touches, and shared living space. Here's what I want you to notice. It doesn't look like an institution. It looks like a home, and that was deliberate. Dignity isn't a luxury in recovery. It's part of treatment. And a woman who has spent years being told she's a problem walks through this door, and maybe for the first time in a long time, she feels like she belongs somewhere good. And nearly every room was furnished by someone in this community, a church group, a business, a family. They didn't write a check to a fund. They furnished a bedroom for a specific woman that they were never going to meet. That kind of community, that is the kind of community that you helped us build. The men's house, the exterior, the full shared bathroom, full shared kitchen, a common area, fitness area, same idea, whole environment, not just the bed in the building. Recovery is not a class that you attend. It's a life you rebuild, and you can't rebuild life in a waiting room. The men here cook meals together. They work out together. They sit in the common room late at night and talk each other through the hard hours, the ones that don't happen from 9 to 5. That is the part that clinical hours can't reach. And that is the part that keeps, and that is the part that keeps people alive. And that is what you made possible. Our outreach center. Our outreach center is the front door to everything. There's no wrong way. No appointments needed, no judgment. It's where someone walks in for the first time, where a frightened family member comes to look for answers, where we reach people that aren't ready for residential recovery yet, but need to know that tonight they exist right here with us. Someone can walk in for a care kit, a ride to an appointment, an instant test, a meeting, or simply to sit with a peer who has walked the very same road and understands exactly where they are. Whatever a person needs to take their next step, we have it right here waiting for them. One of the things I really want to talk about tonight is what's happened right here in our community. I want you to know that your investment is in good hands. This is Josh Clark, a substance use director. And this year, Sara, Virginia named him as the 2026 Peer of the Year, which is a statewide honor. Stand up, Josh. Let me be honest about why this matters. Peer-led work done by people who are in recovery themselves face so much stigma. So here's my answer. When the entire Commonwealth looks across every peer recovery specialist in the state and picks one of the best, and trust me when I say there are thousands, and that person is on our team in our small communities in a rural area, that tells you something about everything in the work that he does. Can't fake that. You can't credential that into existence. Josh earned it the hard way, one honest conversation at a time. The people doing this work are not a risk to manage, they're the reason it works. In Josh's day, he made it, he sold it, he used it, multiple felonies. He's 10 years clean now. Every day, he's changing lives, he's saving lives. And that's what you voted for. That's what you said yes to. Josh. And just this week, I had the honor of carrying the story to the statewide OOA recovery conference myself. The whole state is now looking at our small region and asking how we did it. They're always asking me to teach others how we did it. The answer is the partnership, the very partnership that you said yes to. I stood up in front of 400 attendees. I had a familiar face in the crowd. Jennifer was there. And I specifically talked about bridging the gaps between community-based organizations and localities. And the Opioid Abatement Authority is so impressed with what we've done here, the partnerships that we've made, the communities that we built, and the work that we have done over the past 4 years, that they're asking me to come and present to all of the other localities in the state and tell them how we did it. They're also asking me to go to Nashville next month and present nationally at an NHO conference about how we did it and why it works. Again, coming from 3 small rural communities, when the Commonwealth picks us, that says a lot about the work we're doing here, the work that you said yes to. So here's what tells me that the community truly wanted this. Before a single settlement dollar ever arrived, our neighbors had already put in more than $200,000 of their own. 42% of this was locally funded before the OA helped us at all. And that money didn't come from foundations or the state or federal pastor. It came from local people local business, local churches, writing checks for recovery campus in their own community. Our grant application had 14 letters of support, 33 partners, and someone in this community who owned a house decided that we were given to and gave us a house. That is an approval, that's investment. This was never a project our community merely tolerated. By the time it mattered, our neighbors had already voted with their checkbooks, their letterhead, and their property. They built it right alongside us. Sorry, I meant to keep going there. Sorry about that. So what this means for us now, the new funding keeps every piece of it running, the housing, the peer support, the harm reduction, the transportation, the testing, and the real path from recovery back to the job of the future, as we now have a workforce ecosystem that we're working on as well. Simply put, it keeps the lights on, the doors open, the people who need it the most, the very people that we just talked about. And I want to tell you what comes next, because we don't stand still. We're in year 4 now. Year 4 is already the beginning of year 5 and year 6. We're always building. We're always looking to fill gaps in the community. Every time we close down one gap, we find a person still falling through, and we go build with them. We don't wait to be asked. We see a gap and we fill it. And we will keep you close every step of the way, sharing our wins, sharing our numbers. No surprises ever. And when you said yes, you place your trust in us, and I promise you, we do not take that lightly. We intend to keep being with it in year 5, year 6, and well beyond. So let me end where I began. Recovery happens in community. The community has to be the one that opens the door. You opened it. You said yes. And because of that, people in our cities now have somewhere to go and somewhere to go home to. We're keeping our promises to you every single day, in every single room, for every single person who walks through our doors, whether the world is watching or not. Thank you, Lexington, truly, from the bottom of my heart.
Thank you, Lori. Members of council have questions for Lori.
Thank you for the great work that you're doing.
Thank you.
When all this got cranked up, I don't think any of us had a clear vision of what you had. And I'm not sure you had a clear vision of where you're going, but the energy, enthusiasm, and heart and soul that you've put into it to make it a model circumstance is fantastic, and humbled to be able to have been a part of it and to partner with the successes that you all are realizing. I told Josh, I met him when the First Lady was here touring the site, and just the awe in her face of seeing what was there and the experiences and what a lovely place it is. So congratulations on getting us to this point, and don't let them drag you around the country or the state too much. I know you've got a good team running it here, but keep taking care of the home fire.
They ask.
Absolutely.
But yeah, the peer recovery model, if you don't understand that already, I mean, clinical settings are wonderful. Clinicians are essential. But when you got somebody who can sit down with you and say, I've been there, I know what you're feeling, this is how I handled it, it's a whole different kind of medicine.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Great.
Is this presentation available to others or to?
Sorry?
Is this presentation available, the one you just gave? Is it on your website?
We have a website, yeah.
Yeah.
But-
No, I made it just for you guys, but I'm happy to send it to you.
Okay,
Yeah.
that'd be great.
Yeah.
That's really,
Yeah.
okay.
Kay can push it out to council to share around. So great success. Great success.
Thank you so much.
Josh, you want to say anything? All right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, good deal. Good deal.
Said y'all had a long night. Thank y'all for letting me be here,
Oh.
but I appreciate the community and y'all giving me a second chance at all this, and I'm gonna keep up the good work if I can.
Absolutely. Well, I know that you can, and proud of the work that you've put in and accomplished. And I always say the darndest thing, sun come up tomorrow. It's a new day and new opportunity. So thanks for providing those opportunities to folks that need it the most.
Thank y'all.
Yeah.
Appreciate you.
All right. You and Roxanne have a good Juneteenth weekend. Thank you. Thank you. Next item on our agenda is a public hearing for the appropriation ordinance to implement a loyalty bonus. And I'll call on City Manager to introduce this topic.
Thank you, Mayor. As we talked about at the last council meeting, I am proposing that we provide City of Lexington and Lexington City School employees a loyalty bonus, a one-time contribution for them. For city employees, this would be $1,500. For Lexington City School employees, it would be $740 if you pass this ordinance. The reason why there's a difference is because school employees are already getting a bonus, and this makes them very comparable or equivalent. So we're not intentionally shorting school employees. This is just because of the differences in the state budget and the state bonus that the state is providing. So if you approve this, we estimate the fiscal impact will be $268,000. We also think this will be paid for with $400,000 of FY26 savings plus savings that we now know we are going to realize in FY27 from changes in health insurance made by employees during open enrollment. I recommend that you proceed with this evening. I have had some discussion with Mr. Sigler back and forth because as you may well know, the state of Virginia has yet to pass a budget. There's differences among the House, Senate, and the governor's office as to what that might be. I don't have any insight as to what they will do for school employees, but there is some discussion, at least I believe from the Senate, of increasing school compensation, which is in our budget at 3% to 4%, and that would have a fiscal impact to us as the local government in FY27. We don't know what's going to happen with that. I understand from media today that there is a budget deal, a memorandum of understanding, so that's exciting. Between the parties in the House, Senate, and governor's office. So I could understand if council wants to table this ordinance this evening, hold, close, and then table your public hearing, and then continue this ordinance until your July 2nd meeting. That's perfectly acceptable, and hopefully by then we'll know what the state's going to do. My preference, my recommendation and request of you is that you adopt this evening, and if we have to amend the appropriation ordinance because of changes in the state budget that we're not anticipating today, we'll be happy to bring forward that legislation. But it is a perfectly understandable policy option to say, let's just wait another 2 weeks until we have greater clarity as to what the state's doing.
Yeah.
Be happy to answer any questions.
Why is 26,700 coming from the utility fund versus to fund this?
Pardon?
I was gonna say, please use a microphone and
Okay.
say it like you mean
Sure.
it.
I was asking because I was looking at the recommendation, and it says, I hope I'm looking at the right.
You are.
Okay, yeah, I was wondering why 26,700 of the funding for this is coming from the utility fund versus the general fund.
I can answer or you can. You'll probably do it better, so go ahead.
I wouldn't go that far. Roughly 10% of our payroll is paid for by the utility fund as a whole in the city, just due to the different projects that they
Okay.
work on.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Just when were you planning on paying the bonuses?
So the city is planning to pay the bonus in August. I think August 7th would be a payroll date, which also coincides with the back to school sales tax holiday that the state of Virginia offers. That would be well timed for many of our employees. Lexington City Schools has a plan probably to do that towards the end of July, but that's the current plan.
If members of council don't object, I think there's absolutely terrific support from council to accomplish this. I think it's prudent for council to wait and see what our legislators do and what the budget looks like so that we've got greater sense of what the numbers look like. I think it would be prudent for council to do that. Welcome you to take it up tonight, but I think it makes a lot of sense to wait and embrace this in 1st of July for implementation.
Would we do the public hearing tonight anyway, or hold off on the whole thing altogether?
I would say yes, but I'll look at my attorney and see if he has an opinion.
Well,
yeah. Okay.
You just have to pay to advertise again? Is that?
Yes.
Instead of, we could continue it, open it, continue it.
Yeah. I like that idea.
I do too. Save some money.
Very
So we can
good.
give it out in bonuses.
Yeah, exactly. Members of council have any objection to going ahead with our public hearing? And then we'll keep it open until July and consider it at that point.
No objections. I agree with you. I think that there's a nuance just to be clear that this loyalty bonus would be paid with FY26 funds. Any amendment due to if there's increased local share to the schools due to the FY27 state budget, that would be done to the FY27 Lexington city
Right.
budget, city schools budget. So technically it's two separate pots of money, but I think it is helpful to have the full picture. I think we owe that to the school system, quite honestly, because we're making tweaks to their budget without them knowing the full picture. So I don't see the harm in waiting. I prefer to know all the information, just like you mentioned.
Yeah. Very good. I will look for one last um, consideration and of agreement with our finance director that this doesn't create undue problems, issues, or concerns relative to carry forwards or any of that nature. This is pretty straightforward.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Never want those unintended consequences that we seem to step on from time to time. At this time, I'd like to open the public hearing and ask if there's anyone who would like to speak to this topic. Not aware of anyone that has signed up. Not seeing anyone that wants to speak to this topic, I will close, or I will continue the public hearing at 8:29 and work towards consideration. Is that probably best? Continue it until our July meeting, and where council will close it and have council's consideration in July. Very good. Thank you all for wading through that with me.
I'd like to make one comment though.
Please.
That those people who are waiting for this, who are employees, we don't want them to have the misunderstanding that this is not going to happen. We just need to critique it and finesse it a little bit before we make the final decision on the numbers.
Right. Good point.
Essentially, what we're holding out on is essentially the additional appropriation of funds for the city schools, not city employees. Again, that's where we've got our hand in two funds, if you will, and that's why we're pausing. So you're right, Marilyn. Yeah.
And arguably, this doesn't delay the time of the distribution, to be clear, which I
Right.
think is part of your point. It's still going to be on the same timeline. We do value our employees and the good work that they do. Next item on the agenda is consideration of minutes. They were in your packet. Unless there's an objection from council, we will approve those as presented. Not hearing any dissension. They are approved. Thank you, ma'am. Next item on the agenda is citizens' remarks and comments. And Taylor Maxey has signed up. Taylor, come join us. Thanks for being here.
Hi, thanks for having me.
If you could state your name and if you are or are not a citizen of City of Lexington.
Sure. My name is Taylor Maxey, and I am a resident of the city of Lexington. And it actually was something that was brought to my attention a few days ago by some of my friends. You know how it goes, group chats, trying to figure out things that are happening in life. And we were talking about data centers and AI, and just talking about how we're starting to see, of course, things happening more and more around us. And I wanted to just make comments about maybe some future legislation or some future talks about making sure that data centers don't come to Lexington City or don't come to the Rockbridge area. I understand that there's reason that a lot of people would have reasons for it, feeling as though with the uptick in technology and things like that, that data centers could bring, I guess you could say, more revenue to the town. But the thing about it is that the thing that I think people really love about the Lexington area and Rockbridge County area is the nature. And lots of studies have shown that it is damaging the nature in those areas. And I just feel like it wouldn't be a great decision for us as an area. But of course, these decisions are ultimately up to you. I just wanted to make my voice heard. Thank you very much.
Cool. Taylor, thank you. Appreciate you being with us this evening and sharing your perspective and engaging in civil discourse here. Thank you. Greatly appreciated. Is there anyone else who would like to speak to council this evening? No obligations. Hearing none, I'll close the citizens' remarks and comments at 8:32. The next item is consent agenda. There are two items for your consideration.
I make a motion that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
I have a motion, and a second, and a roll call vote. Mr. Smith,
Aye.
Mr. Driscoll,
Aye.
Mr. Ziegler,
Aye.
Mr. Betts,
Aye.
Ms. Alexander, Ms. Strong. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you all. Not aware of any unfinished business. Reports and communications, board communications, airport feasibility committee, Mr. Driscoll.
No meeting, no report.
Very good. I did attend the Central Shenandoah Planning District Commission meeting on Monday and cross paths with Ann Cundy, who is supporting the Airport Feasibility Committee with the report. And I understand in the weeks ahead that should be finalized and forthcoming. So you all will be meeting soon. Blue Ridge Resource Authority, Mr. Smith.
No report.
Jail Capital Committee, Mr. Betts, Mr. Ziegler.
I felt that Tom's email summary of our meeting and the questions that we agreed upon as a committee were pretty clear. And if anyone has any questions, Nick and I can probably answer them, but I felt the email did a good job.
Very good. Thank you.
I'll just say one thing that we did spend a good amount of time talking on about is if the county did relocate the sheriff's office, potentially the current sheriff's office could be used as a minimum security facility to house maybe 35 to 40 people and do a renovation to the jail in that way. That was one thing that was thrown out.
Very good. Lots of options, and getting the best return on investment is certainly, I think, what the committee is championed with pursuing. So thank you all for serving on that committee. Main Street Lexington, Mr. Smith.
Main Street Lexington met Tuesday. Main Street had their board elections. Jared Covington is the new president. Ellen Bunton is our vice president. John Mormon will be our past president. Adam Sandridge is our treasurer, and Emily Davis will be our parliamentarian. New board members are Janie Harris and Adrian Sanchez. Main Street also adopted a new budget, and included in that budget were some staff compensation adjustments. When Virginia Main Street visited our community last year, two of the comments they shared, one primarily was you don't pay your director enough, and that's why you're having a hard time finding a deeper applicant pool. So that compensation has been adjusted. Marion Williams has been moved up to assistant director. She's been pretty much doing the work as assistant director, and now that's just being made official. Mentioned the budget. Locally, Old Head Records will be going into the old Clover space at Nelson and Jefferson. As I mentioned last time, Clover has moved up to next to Blue Sky. Lexington Bicycle Repair, we're still waiting on a firm date for that opening. Ladles and Linens will be moving back to the Rockbridge building. New business, Spice and Tea Exchange, will also be opening in the other Rockbridge building space. Mulberry's DIY is not just me, is it?
No.
Workshop and Global are scheduled to close. Also, retail space is available soon on Nelson Street. Woodrow's, which was the antique shop, is closing or it's closed. And the former Flex Fitness spot in the hub up Main Street here are also vacant. Main Street is working with property owners to get those spaces filled. Again, full speed ahead for the Freedom Food Festival and the Children's Bike Parade over the 4th of July holiday. That's all I have.
Thank you, sir. Members of council have any questions for Mr. Smith? The bike parade is always fun and exciting. It's a little different now with Rick Alford's home at the previous staging area. I think they're shoehorned in there a little bit differently, but I'm sure it will go off with a lot of children and a lot of fun. Planning Commission, Ms. Strawn.
Planning Commission met last Thursday on June 11th. We had a public hearing for the Comprehensive Plan 5-year review. We did not have any comments in person, but we did have some written comments asking for sidewalks along Whitmore Street for school, specific for everybody, but because there's so many school children that cross that curve, that some of the neighbors in that area felt like it was dangerous. We felt like that was a valid concern, and we're going to pass it on to the city manager and to the director of public works, but it wasn't anything that would change our comprehensive plan. We are, however, going to continue our public hearing to the next meeting, and probably a little bit longer than that, because we're waiting on VDOT's review before we can actually approve it and send it on to city council. We did have some discussion on the area around the water tower. You know, part of it we had a while ago on the future land use map marked it as mixed use.
Which water tower?
The
Field?
the water tower off Enfield.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
And there was a suggestion from within Planning Commission to maybe make that an opportunity area. An alternative to kind of get the same result would be to just expand the use on the future land use map to mixed use, make it bigger. So we didn't make any decision on that. It was just discussion we had. And then we continued our discussion on the residential PUD zoning text amendment. That's all I have.
Very good. Any questions for Ms. Strawn? Not a question, but just to mention that the comments on the sidewalks that were forwarded to Planning Commission, that came out of a meeting that happened in the neighborhood where 5 people showed up on the corner of Edmondson and Plunkett and talked in general and specifics about what, the issues are I was encouraged that they all wrote letters to explain what their point of view, and maybe there are some ways to begin to address that without thinking about a full sidewalk, which I received today some analysis that some of them have done, and I was going to forward that to Tom shortly. So I was encouraged that at least 5 people showed up on the corner to talk about it.
Thank you, John. Regional Tourism, Mr. Betts.
We had a very
we need to hear
comprehensive and solid report. So I will adopt that report as my report.
Fantastic. Thank you. And good luck as you all embark upon the future and the leadership with tourism. Raro, Mr. Ziegler.
Just no report except to say while the rain would be welcomed, since we have not had any rain, we've not had any cancellations of our softball league or of our all-star baseball teams that have been hosting tournaments and traveling all over the place. So there is a silver lining, but no report.
But not a soggy lining. Yes, a nice soaking rain from 2 to 5 a.m. a couple of nights would be terrific. Threshold, Miss Alexander.
No report. We have a meeting coming up this week, I believe.
Thank you, ma'am. I bring to you one item, I believe. I'm happy to be corrected if I'm missing something, but we need to make an appointment to the Blue Ridge Criminal Justice Board. And historically, I think the city manager and chief of police have served on this, and I would bring their names forward for your consideration.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion, a second. Any discussion?
Have they been notified of this appointment?
Fortunately for them, Kate did alert them that they were voluntold. And as for a roll call vote, Mr. Driscoll.
Aye.
Strawn.
Aye.
Mr. Ziegler.
Aye.
Mr. Betts.
Aye.
Mr. Smith.
Aye.
Ms. Alexander.
Aye.
Thank you all very much. City manager's report.
Thank you for the nomination. I accept. Just a couple of brief things. During the Maury Service Authority discussion, Mayor asked a question about the completion of the Houston Street water tank connection and its relationship between that and the geyser we experienced back in March at across from the Alvin Dennis and Legendary Eats and Sweet Things. And it's good news that the MSA is finished with that project, but we will from time to time be taking the Houston Street tank out of service in order for maintenance work to take place in that in the upcoming weeks and months. So, well, it's good that MSA is done with the work. We're not out of the woods in terms of possible interruptions and breaks, but hopefully we've learned from the break that we experienced in March. I just wanted to point that out.
Thank you.
Because I thought there might be a question behind the question. And then kind of related to that is it occurs to me that construction season is upon us, that we have many projects underway and many more about to get underway. This would include the Woods Creek best management practice detention pond at McLaughlin and Lime Kiln that is occurring. There have been heavy dump trucks bringing in and removing soils. Nichols Engineering Building is being expanded at VMI. VMI is preparing to demolish Moody, Nykirk, and Cabell. And that will require the trucking out of a tremendous amount of building material from the demolition. Washington Lee is planning to do the demolition of the Early Fielding Building, which will have a similar amount of trucking materials removed from there. VDOT will be starting the Lime Kiln Bridge restoration or replacement sometime later this summer, probably in July. That'll involve inconvenience for motorists on the other side of the Lime Kiln Bridge. Well, either side of the Lime Kiln Bridge, whichever way you're going, it's going to be closed to all but pedestrians. The White Street or Jackson Avenue Phase 1 project is about to start. Diamond Street is already, the stormwater project is well underway, and that's closing traffic along Diamond Street presently between North Main and Randolph Street most of the time during the day. We have all these projects going on. We have a couple of houses under construction. We have lots of projects going on at the intersection of Main and Washington, which is experiencing some occasional temporary road closures. Jordan's point in our street paving, we still don't have a schedule for our street paving, but that's going to be inconvenient. I guess where I'm going with all this is there's a tremendous amount of activity, investment occurring in Lexington, public and private. It's not going to be convenient, and it's going to disrupt both your driving experience, your pedestrian experience, and there's gonna be dust and noise and the smell of diesel fuel, and so we'll just ask for people's patience as we try and coordinate this. We do have a meeting internally next week. Thank you to Kate for helping to organize that and facilitate that, where we're going to try and coordinate to make sure that all the various dump trucks that are going through town have some sense of what else is going on, so that this is not onerous to Main Street, residential streets, and so forth. So I'm just making you aware that we're trying to the best of our ability to coordinate these various projects, but there will be disruptions. Happy to answer any questions.
When is the VMI demolition scheduled?
I don't have a date. I think
Okay.
they're doing the environmental work, or have been doing the environmental work within the buildings since school got out.
Okay, thanks.
Mr. Ziegler may
Yeah,
have some intel. My perception is it's imminent.
It is, that's what I was getting at. So it will happen this summer, is kind of pretty soon.
It should happen this summer.
Okay.
Yeah.
When is the road work coming off of Diamond Street supposed to be done and going past VMI? Do you happen to know?
Substantial completion is supposed to be done in September, and final completion is in October. We're doing as much of the work as we can over the summer months when school's not in session, but it's going to bleed over into the school year.
Okay.
And it's progressively gonna go up the hill.
That was an incredible list
Wow.
that you shared. Thank you for sharing that. I mean, it's most of the projects that we approved, some we obviously haven't, but that's an incredible list. So thanks to our project managers that are managing projects for the city. But then the point that you made about notifying, contractors and truck drivers to let them know what's going on. We are fortunate that one of the contractors, is Randy Hostetter Excavating, and he's got a hand probably in just about every single project. And a lot of those drivers are local. They do know the city of Lexington. They know Rockbridge County. And so hopefully we were able to be efficient in our communication, but there's not a project that company is not supporting in the city, it seems. They're everywhere. Their trucks are all around the city. So, but thanks for that list, and tell everybody at Public Works, thank you for their management of these projects.
Any other questions for the city manager? This caveat, I would tell you, the construction downtown started in 2020. I'm sorry, in 2000. So about 26 years we've been under construction, whether it was the Gin Hotel, the Lexington Presbyterian Church. I won't belabor the point, but folks are the big dig on Main Street water replacement plan. I digress, but it's a bit of a mess, and people will have to continue to endure. And it's great that we have so many willing partners to spend the capital to improve our city and the initiatives that this council has embraced. City Attorney.
Good evening, council. It's good to be with you again. Filling in for Jeremy Carroll, who is on vacation for the next couple weeks, which is great for him. I'm a little bit jealous. But he sent me a couple of things to report to you guys, short and sweet, to let you know that the deeds for the courthouse square conveyances have been prepared. They've been sent to the other parties for comment, and that we hope to record these deeds in the next coming weeks. Also, the pleadings for the Board of Equalization appointments have been prepared, and we will wait to file them until the appointees complete their state mandated training. And lastly, the city manager has been given a comprehensive set of possible edits to the draft franchise agreement with Dominion Energy. So that's what I have to report. Have any questions? I have to answer them as best I can.
Excellent. Any questions for the attorney? Excited to hear the Dominion piece, and look forward to the cooperation and partnership with them as they move forward in projects in our community. Next item on the agenda is new business, resolution 2026-13. And I'll look to Arnie to lead us on.
Good
Welcome.
evening, everyone. Would like your consideration for an initiation of a zoning text amendment. Perhaps the first whereas in the resolution is the most helpful. I did not quote the exact strategy, but one of the strategies in the comprehensive plan is to explore modifying the city's zoning regulations to facilitate the creation of a variety of safe, affordable, and innovative housing options for small lot attached units and other housing types. And that's one of the main things that we can accomplish with the planned development residential. And we have actually already started on that amendment, but look forward a resolution to initiate that particular amendment to the zoning text. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Arnie. Members of council have any questions for the planning director?
Good idea.
Very good. You heard the recommendation, and I would ask for council's thoughtful consideration.
I'll move to approve resolution 2026 -13 to initiate amendment of the city's zoning ordinance pertaining to the addition of a planned development residential zoning district.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'd ask for a roll call vote. Mr. Betts, Mr. Ziegler.
Aye.
Ms. Strawn.
Aye.
Mr. Driscoll.
Aye.
Mr. Smith.
Aye.
Ms. Alexander. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much. Thank you for bringing it forward and leading our planning department. I'm not aware of any other business to come before council this evening, and unless there's an objection, I will remind everyone that Juneteenth celebration tomorrow night, Richardson Park, 6 to 9. And we will get together before July 4th, but lots of fun things going on in the big city, and look forward to encourage you to enjoy them and look forward to seeing you at those upcoming events. And unless there's an objection, we are adjourned. Have a great night and a better